And so it's
The team's almost irrelevant, isn't it? It's the individuals, and if you get a few individuals who are up for it and get themselves organised, then even the crappy teams are gonna come across like they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
exactly. That's it. All you need is a few educated people who know what they're talking about. That's possibly why the Vikings haven't got one yet.
Yeah, I think so.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Hey, up.
Sorry, Pete.
What's happened to your hair? Did you fall in some bleach?
You've been struck by lightning. Storm.
It's called Kiss.
Ice cream?
Yeah, that's it. Can we change his nickname to Storm? Go on.
No, I got a bit bored, so I dyed my hair.
I mean, of course, that's what we all do.
Yeah.
Well, speak for yourself.
I shaved my eyebrow. I mean, I didn't. I picked it, but yeah, might as well have done.
So how was training camp? I've not followed training camp too much, if I'm going to be honest.
I've looked into it. So yeah, if you start with cornerback, like I mean, it's looking like it's going to be Mike Hughes and Holton Hill that are starting.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised because I thought that Jeff Gladney would be well in there, and it seems that he's not. He's not. What is it they're saying? I've got some notes.
Yeah. Well, I know obviously that they're the veterans, aren't they? Hill and Gladney, that they'll know the system, and Zimmer must like Hill, or he wouldn't be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The amount of chances he's given him, he's got to like him, or he simply still wouldn't be there.
Absolutely. He's had some personal issues as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had personal issues. He's had some suspensions and the likes. But I think he's got the height that he wants, hasn't he? So I think Holton Hill and the games he's played, to be fair, he's played well.
Yeah, I've always liked him.
So I think he's entrenched as a starter. Hughes is the one who hasn't lived up to his first round billing, and he's the one who's likely to be in trouble should Dantzler or Gladney not have some sort of issue with his knee or something where he was sitting out a few sessions possibly. That could possibly justify why he's not starting yet.
Who, Dantzler?
Gladney.
Oh, Gladney. Yes, he didn't participate in first practice. He underwent surgery this year to repair a torn meniscus. Just after the combine. And on August 15th, he had a sleeve over one of his legs, so might still be recovering. But it doesn't look like anything serious.
If you think they've got Green Bay in the opening game, it's a brave move going up against Rodgers to put rookie secondary in of any. You could see him even if he thinks some of the rookies have a better camp. You could. He's going to go with experience for that first game, isn't he? You would think.
You'd like to think so.
On Devontae Adams as well.
Yeah, at least we won't get Rhodes getting absolutely burned by Devontae Adams twice a year, which happens even when Rhodes was good. To be fair, Adams just had him in his pocket every single year.
Yeah.
So there's that to look forward to, but he's. You're right. You can't really throw rookies in that first game. I think Hill and Hughes are the ones who are going to start.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know who's going to be in the slot. I know Hughes has been a bit in the slot. Gladney's been a bit in the slot. I don't think they put Dantzler in the slot, have they? I don't think they've tried him. He's the outside.
They have spoken about that. I've read that somewhere, and I can't find where I've read that, but I've definitely read that they're thinking about putting Dantzler in the slot.
Are they?
You could see them blooding a couple in the second week against the Colts, because looking at the schedule, we haven't got too many really shitty quarterbacks to be up against this season.
We've got the third hardest schedule or something.
Yeah, some years you look at it and you go, well, there's a rookie quarterback, there's somebody who shouldn't be playing, but you look at it this year, it's Christ, we even end up with Tom Brady against the bloody Bucks, don't we? I mean,
yeah. Someone did publish a list, didn't they, of the sort of strength of schedule according to the quarterback, and I think we were struggling with that one. We've got a tough slate of quarterbacks to go against, and even when we do play teams with a crap quarterback like the Bears, we tend to shit the bed anyway.
Oh mate,
Yeah.
I was in Chicago. I was in Chicago last year, and oh my god, the one NFL game I've been to in America, and we played like that against well, it wasn't Trubisky, was it? It was whoever the backup guy was, because Trubisky got injured really early on. Actually,
Chase Daniels came
before I
in.
got that's it, Chase Daniels. He got injured before I turned up, before I got into the ground, because the queues were ridiculous. But yeah, we play like that.
Because we've got Texans, Seahawks, Falcons, and then we got a bye, and then we got the Packers. So that's
wow.
If anything, you could see weeks 2 and 3. So the Colts and the Titans. That's the time if he wants to get the younger guys in for a few plays. You'd want to be using those 2 games really.
Rivers and Tannehill, though. Tannehill was ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'd still take Rivers and Tannehill over
Rodgers.
over Rodgers and
Deshaun Watson,
and Matt, what's his name, Ryan, and yeah.
But also bear in mind, it might be Phil Rivers, but we're going to get absolutely nowhere near him with that offensive line. To be fair, so he's going to be back there with all day to throw, be able to pick us off at will. I reckon. Yeah. So it's going to be baptism of fire for those cornerbacks. To be
Definitely.
fair, but saying that, we look at the wide receivers Green Bay have got. It's not. They tend to be quite big receivers, don't they? Lazard and who? They
don't have a great deal of.
Valdez
they don't have massive pace, do they?
But they've got like a sort of cliche sort of basketball team that they're putting together of 6'1" plus receivers, and Gladney, Dantzler, Hughes, 5'10", 5'11" most, and we have got some smaller cornerbacks there, so that could be. I
mean, you do wonder if this is part of the logic of signing Zimmer and Spielman to long-term extensions, because they know they're going into a bit of a rebuilding phase now.
Yeah, without a doubt, this year is a rebuilding phase, because I can't think of one position group where we are definitely better than last year.
It's a good shout.
At worst, we're level running backs and quarterback. Defensive line's worse. Offensive line's worse.
Safety's same, isn't it?
Safety's the same, but there's less depth there, because even Sendejo, who you can normally rely on, he's like some sort of a sure thing in your phone on a Friday night about 11 o'clock, or you could always phone up and go around the house. Even she's knocked you back now. Sendejo's gone somewhere else. So he's so depth might be worse at safety, but the starting, you're right. Linebackers are the same. Corners, question mark.
Some are the same, but they're better. Like, they've improved. For example, tight end. I think Irv Smith is knocking on the door of starting now. And they're talking about, I've read, that getting Irv Smith in as a slot receiver as well.
Yeah.
Split back. What's a split back?
She might be sort of set up in the backfield a bit more and sort of running out from there. Yeah. But that's the one, is Irv Smith's development. Might mean we're better at tight end, but that's arguably one of the least important positions. all the more important ones we're definitely worse at best, equal. And quarterback's too unknown to say at this point, because we were awful last year.
The one thing that's got the big thing, I suppose, going in our favour is it's going to be such a bizarre season.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
With no one's had a pre-season, no one knows what's really going on. There's going to be teams that start to lose people through COVID and having to isolate and stuff. It's going to be all over the place.
Haven't they said today the Vikings have had like nine have had to go into isolation?
Yeah. But are there not false positives?
Yeah. Bears had
the testing.
Bears had 6 or 9 false positives as well.
Yeah.
Have you started watching the new series of Hard Knocks at all?
Yeah.
Because they had one of the I forget which team, because it's the 2 teams. I think it's the Rams. One of their coaches went home because they thought because he tested positive, and then was back a day later because it wasn't.
Yeah, or they just give a brown envelope full of cash to the testing facility. He's not positive, is he? We need him on the field. Yeah, there you go. They take a big bung, and we'll get him back out there. So that is a slight issue if there's a large amount of false positives going around. But
Definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be a funny season. It's almost not a bad year to be in a rebuild phase, I guess.
It will be
Although-
the Vikings win the Super Bowl because it's just
be
been
nobody
one of
that-
those years.
Amazing.
Although, as long as we're not hoping to build through next year's draft, because that's just going to be a complete
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it is,
guesswork,
yeah.
isn't it? I mean,
apart
with
from
no
the 900 picks that we've already got for next year's draft, but yeah.
in the 1 year where you haven't got a clue who you're picking because you're relying on the 2 years ago or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What
what
do
do the wide receivers look like?
You beat me to it.
Sorry. I was
So Thielen is absolutely destroying camp at the moment. He's 10 times better than everyone else. I guess when we drafted Jefferson, I thought, and I guess many others thought, that maybe he might actually be good enough to start in place of Diggs. That doesn't look like it's the case. He's had obviously not been with the squad all the off season, and it looks like it's going to be Bissy Johnson that's going to start opposite, which I gather, Ted, you're not that pleased about. Was it Ted or was it Kev? Yeah, he's arrived. But yeah, that looks like it's Bissy Johnson. But Jefferson, he's doing well. He's doing okay. He's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I've only seen sort of the highlights, sort of clips of Dancer's good play, and Jefferson had a good play over Hughes, I think it was.
It was
I didn't
Hughes,
realise
yeah.
that. I didn't realise that was in the twos at the time. But again, he's going up against our starting cornerback, and he probably should outjump him, to be fair. So I was never that much of a fan of Jefferson coming out anyway. So I'd still probably just throw him into the fire, if I'm honest, rather than BC Johnson.
I think I would do that as well, but
Jefferson's polished. I don't think he's exciting. I think he's polished. I think he could do a job straight away. I don't think he's going to put up Diggs' numbers, but he's going to do a job. Especially from the slot, if that's where they're looking to put him.
We don't have massive height, do we, at wide receiver? You know, it's all just around about the 6 foot, just slightly over mark. You know, there's I can't remember, who were we talking about? Oh, Green Bay going for the basketball kind of. You know, we haven't. You could do with one top
Massive.
who's
And we don't. Yeah, you're right. They're all much of a much. Jefferson's probably the tallest of the lot I can think of. BC Johnson, there's no height on BC Johnson either. So there might be too much. Just
What about Hollins, Alexander Hollins? Because he apparently has had an absolutely smashing camp so far.
He's a speedster, isn't he? I mean, it's they brought him in briefly last year for a couple of plays. I think there was one where he ripped it and then he managed to drop the ball. But I can't remember much from him apart from that. I mean, he might have done something, but I can't remember anything.
No, I just read that he's had a really good training camp so far, and it's all looking quite positive.
I think he's quite far down. So I think I was reading before. Kubak's a big fan of Chad Beebe as well.
Yeah, he's done well.
Kubak's a fan of Chad Beebe, which he said he just needs one season, and then he'll come on leaps and bounds, which implies he's going to be on the roster almost. But not seeing enough other than sort of you're willing him to do well, then he gets injured.
You're going to say he can't stay fit.
You can't stay fit, and there's enough people vying for 4th, 5th, 6th choice receiver. Osborne's a punt returner, for example. So you need another string to put. Every time BB was under a punt, I think there was one or two. There's one or two muffs, wasn't there? And you're thinking, right, no, get him out of there. If you can't add value on special teams or punt return them, then you're sort of a bit in danger, especially with the draft a punt return specialist to go in there.
I mean, do you keep Osborne as part of the 5 receivers that I imagine that we'll take?
They're talking about
into
6.
the final.
They're talking about 6.
I find that surprising, considering we'll probably play a lot of 2 tight end sets. I'd be surprised if we took 6. If it's 6 including the punt returner, then fair enough. But I mean that's one less for everyone else to use. But
there was some other QB quotes saying that 4 wide receivers will be on the pitch during the game. Maybe not at the same time, but he will be. So there's obviously Thielen's undisputed number 1. So they'll have 3 others rotating in as a second and third. Implies you might need 6, but there's some practice squad rules now, isn't there? I think they've extended that, so you could probably put Osborne on the practice squad and stash him there and bring him up if necessary.
The real issue is, Thielen's not got or a big issue potentially is Thielen's not got a great injury history, has he? And it's like when you've got Thielen and Diggs, if one goes out, you've still got a number one threat.
Yeah, and I think was it his birthday yesterday or the day before?
Yeah,
he's turned 30. He's turned 30. So he's the wrong side of 30 now, and he missed a few games last year. Another year before, he sort of played through injury and wasn't quite the same after a flying start. How much can you rely on Thielen to be?
That's what I
that
worry
guy.
about.
It's I think he's okay when he was part of a 1A and a 1B with Diggs and Thielen, but is he just a one, out and out one now with those concerns? I love watching him play. I love watching his roots and breaking ankles and the likes. He catches everything, but
Can he keep it up? Not in a naughty way, but yeah.
I assume that's what the Vikings were looking for when they were drafting Jefferson. They were looking for that, maybe not this year, but going forward, to have that 1-2 and replacing Diggs with him. He certainly's got the hands as Jefferson. Whether he's got the explosiveness that Diggs had, we'll see.
I didn't see any great separation the likes from Jefferson. He was always finding the soft zone in the zone coverage. He's finding the right area to go to rather than beat his man, because they moved him from an outside receiver to an inside receiver.
That helps when they had Chase though at LSU as well.
Because he's no Jamar Chase, but his numbers shot up through the roof when he started playing inside. So is he limited there as well? Do you still need some outside receivers as well as?
I'm surprised that Tajay Sharp hasn't really come to the fore, because he looked great out of college and then went to the Titans, and it's a run-heavy team, so he didn't really show his stuff. And I'd really like to have seen him, because he's untested, to have exploded onto the scene. But I think we were saying before, it doesn't seem to have happened.
I don't know if that. I was quite excited when he signed. To be fair, I thought he could come on, and he was hamstrung by that offense he was playing in. But whether he's exciting enough for the social media pages of the Vikings, we just don't see it. Oh, look, here's our shiny new toy, Jefferson taking a great catch. Here's Osborne taking a great catch in the end zone. Here's our free agent that we got for $1 million a year. We're not really going to focus on him, I don't think.
If you're taking KJ Osborne as the returner, would you? And then you're taking Thielen, you're taking Jefferson, Bissy Johnson, and Chad Beebe. Who would you take as a fifth receiver? Would you take Sharp?
I'd take Sharp. Yeah,
I'd take Sharp. Then would you take Chad Beebe?
Would you take Sharp if Sharp couldn't cut it in another offense that was run heavy? Isn't he?
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah. Hasn't he just moved to almost a similarly weighted offense, and so if he didn't work once, would you? I don't know.
I mean, the other options are Dylan Mitchell, who has not been good, Dan Chisena, who's not been good, Alexander Hollins, who has been good, and Courtney Davis, who hasn't really done much. That's it.
Yeah,
I like Courtney Davis. I was big on him late on in the draft last year. He'll probably do nothing because of that.
I don't know much about him.
Yes, it's how many you take. It looks like, to me, you can't have BB taking punts. So it looks like Osborne might have to make the roster for punt returning.
Yeah, that's like Abdullah taking stuff out the backfield. Like your parts in your mouth because you think, well, there's a fumble coming very soon.
You're right. You're right. But whether Osborne's your fifth receiver, because it looks like Thielen, Jefferson, and Johnson are sort of cemented in as the top three, and then you say, do you take Beebe and Sharp and Osborne? I don't think so. I think one of Beebe or Sharp misses out.
Interesting.
We can't get a punt returner out of one of the defensive backs, can we? Given that we think we might be weak there anyway.
Mike Hughes, possibly.
Mike
Hughes has. But do you want your starting corner? Current starting corner to
take
I hope he's not starting corner.
I think he's nailed on to start, to be honest, judging by what I've read.
Yeah. So you're not a fan at all. But if he is starting corner, I don't want him taking punts. It's as simple as that. Because if I was a special teams corner on the other side, I know it's a bit Bounty Gate, a bit Greg Williams here. You'd be gunning for him, literally. But you wouldn't mind taking a penalty for a late hit if he's your starting corner. In all honesty, so I don't know why you'd put him at risk when we've got so many question marks over our corners. I don't know about if Gladney or Dantzler or any of these other safeties we've got into camp are punt returners either, but the sort of thought was that Osborne was drafted because of his punt returning. Saying that, he wasn't actually the starting punt returner for Miami until halfway through the year. So, because I think Jeff Thomas was, who then sort of got suspended for a couple of games. So that's why Osborne got promoted to punt return duties for his university. So
we missed the boat there, actually, with a couple of players went off the board around that time, like Peoples-Jones I wanted us to take because he was still there.
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
Donovan, yeah.
He went, and I was a bit disappointed because I thought, he's not far off us, really. And I thought we sort of hit the panic button a bit there with getting Osborne. I didn't really know much about him at all, to be brutally honest.
Fair enough. Let's talk offensive line, specifically left guard. I've been reading that left guard is between Aviante Collins and Dakota Dozier, and Ezra Cleveland is currently not thought of as a starter. Thoughts?
And Slick Rick should be sacked then. And if he's drafted someone in to bring to left guard and we're bringing AC or Dozier in, I mean, that's a massive fail. I can't see that being the case at week one. It's going to have to be Reef going into guard, or it'll be Cleveland, because we start with either of those two, we're struggling.
Riley Reef is left tackle, is what they're saying. Left guard is the one up for grabs. Obviously, Garrett Bradbury in the centre. Pat Elfline, right guard. And then Brian O'Neill.
They keep moving him around, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much... Well, Elfline played right guard at Ohio State before he went to centre. So, but this very much smacks of, this is your last chance to prove you can play somewhere on the interior or you're gone. It's as simple as that. And so I'm unhappy he's actually anywhere near the roster at all, Elfline, if I'm perfectly honest. But Dakota
contract year as well, is it, Pete?
It is, yeah. His contract's up after this, so
is it?
This is final chance. If you can't play right guard, then he's gone. But saying that, Dakota Dozier's a career-long backup almost. And probably can't believe he's looked at. He's probably front runner for left guard, because that's what he is. He's a backup. He shouldn't be looking to go in with Dakota Dozier as your starting left guard. And I can't for the life of me perplexed, mind-boggling how Josh Clyde was let go. Absolutely. Yeah, take like I said, like my point before, there's no position group where we're stronger than last year, and there's no more evident than offensive line, where we've actively made ourselves worse. We've gone to make ourselves worse. And we've said it before, it's Zimmer's, Spielman's blind spot, rather, offensive line. He just can't seem to get it right. Aviante Collins played left guard once against the Bears last year, week 17. Didn't do much. A few notable whiffs while he was on there as well, to be fair. He was always a backup sort of swing tackle. And then tried him at left guard, and it didn't work in that game. And all of a sudden, he's got a chance of starting the season there. Absolute lunacy.
What's Cleveland like? What was he like in college?
He's a good player. He's essentially he's a bit like Brian O'Neill. He's really, really athletic. He does need to have a bit of strength. I think in his last year, I think he was carrying a bit of a sort of foot injury or some sort of ankle injury that sort of hampered him a little bit. But once he gets a bit stronger, that play strength a bit stronger, I've got no issues with Ezra Cleveland next year being our tackle. Even if you start him there this year, if the best thing is to move Reef inside for a year, I don't want to play Cleveland left guard this year, then try and make a left tackle. Throw him at left tackle this year and just help give him some support with a running backs or a tight end to help him out. Titans did that with Jack Conklin for a year, and now he's gone and made many millions on the back of it. Help him develop for a year. because they can. Tackles can.
Well,
Con-
doesn't
con-
that
con-
link?
con-
Doesn't that link to what you were saying earlier about, I forget which tight end you mentioned now, as some kind of a
split back.
split back
Yeah,
role?
Irv Smith.
If you were going to do that, then you could put a bit more support to help one side of the line, I guess.
Yeah, so it might be. I'd be more inclined to do that than play Dakota Dozier, Aviante Collins left guard. Just move Reef inside, ask him to take a bit of a pay cut, put Ezra Cleedon left tackle, give him a bit of help for this year. Next year, put your big boy pants on. You're starting there. That's your job. That's what we drafted your second round to do.
Daniel Jeremiah comped him of O'Neill. He said his comp is O'Neill. He said, I know it's a really lazy comparison, but it is. It is. See.
Yeah, and he's big, he's tall, he's athletic. He gets down to the second level well. He could do with a bit more drive off the ball, which O'Neill was lacking when in his first year because he was a converted tight end. But he's very much the two of them are bookends, a sort of mirror image of each other. I'd throw him out there for his left tackle with a bit of help.
I worry that they were kind of excited by the fact that he's very mobile, and then they sacrificed the other bits that he does. I mean, we'll see that, whether he transfers that to the NFL game, but the way that Kubiak's offensive line rolls, the zone scheme, what have you, you need to be a mobile player, and Ezra Cleveland definitely does that. It's whether he's going to have the strength and the technique to be able to withstand the pass rush, especially in our division, which, let's face it, it's pretty strong in the NFC North. And that's going to be key. And I'm with you. I would like to have seen Reef get pushed into left guard, but with the contract that he's under, he would have to take a big cut for him to be even a viable option at guard, and that was never going to happen.
Yeah, at this point, the money doesn't concern me because it's spent anyway. And it's not coming out of my pocket. But for us to not go 7-9 or 6-10, which we're likely to do with this team, the best thing to help us get us more wins isn't to go to Dozier, Aviante Collins playing left guard. So I'd take it on the chin that we're overpaying for a left guard, and help develop a left tackle for the next 4 years.
I agree.
A good shout. It's a very good shout. Defensive tackle, Michael Pierce. Trying to protect or shield from COVID. Yeah, I know that. I know that. Thanks, Kev.
I think Kev should start on this topic. I know what his thoughts are.
Literally, when we bought Shamar Stephen back, I said, this is a dreadful signing. He was adequate when he left us for coming in and doing a job, but kind of that not athletic enough, not long enough, not dynamic enough to be a decent enough 3-tech, but come in on a few downs and do a job. Not big enough or strong enough to play your zero or your shade or for the nose. Dreadful. And we bought him back and overpaid, and now he's like our best defensive tackle. It's literally horrifying. The 49ers game, if you go and rewatch it, all they did was run at him. All they did. Game. Used motion and then ran at him. And everyone's just... I think when we were all messing about, me, Pete and Ted were like kind of messing around and talking and doing mock drafts and stuff. And when we were doing Viking mock drafts, there was always a position we'd always miss on. Because when you were doing the mocks and the computer simulation was running through, there was always something you'd always miss on. And that's kind of come to fruition because I thought we drafted pretty well, to be brutally honest. But we've missed out on a defensive tackle, and we're going to really suffer for it, especially with Pierce.
Well, he's going to start, and I've got an actual quote from Adam Zimmer here that says Stefan is as good a nose tackle as there is.
I remember Twitter blew up about that.
Yeah. He said he's cut the end of the sentence off. He's the good nose tackle is in the Stefan household is what the bit that was actually cut off. Because that's, I presume, on the Vikings roster, he's best nose tackle.
Well, what we've got is, who else have we got?
Even then,
we've got Jaleel Johnson.
The problem is you want to talk your players up and give them confidence, but you've got to retain credibility at the same time. And giving somebody so much praise that you start to lose credibility at that point.
Yeah,
build them up, but don't be stupid about it.
Yes.
I'm happy with him there than at 3-tech, to be honest.
Yeah. You can't play him 3-tech. 3-tech's laughable. Nose tech, you can kind of see backing up Pierce for a few reps to give Pierce a breather. But then when he's thrown it to be starting 3-tech, it's a disgrace, to be honest. And starting nose tech's more understandable. He's simply not a 3-tech. But nose tackle, I could kind of tolerate if he was a backup nose tackle. But now he's starting. There's real concerns about that group. Like no group's been hit worse than defensive tackle, I don't think.
What about our friend straight out of Disney, Hercules, Matt Arthur?
Well, I saw he bulked up. I saw he put some weight on. He was pushing close to 290, wasn't he? I think that was always the thing. And if he returns the first step that he showed out of college, then fair enough. But it's whether he has. It's okay bulking up, and I could bulk up to 300 pounds. Doesn't mean I'd be able to play nose tackle or defensive tackle or 3-tech. So everyone wants him to do well. So I don't know I've not seen how his training camp's going, to be fair. I don't know if he's running with the seconds, I presume.
Let me give you some quotes. August 17th, August the 18th. Hercules Mataafa has flashed at times, and his increased size is certainly becoming an asset, but he hasn't done enough yet to prove he deserves the heavy rotational role they gave him at the beginning of the season. He hasn't been consistent enough yet in pass rush drills, which generally favour defensive linemen, to show that he has retained all the quickness he had at a lighter weight. If he has, then that's great news, but he has to show it.
Right. So there you go.
Who do they reckon are starting for?
What have we got here? We've got
Hunter,
Odenigbo, Stephen, and
Jaleel Johnson.
Jaleel Johnson.
In fairness,
Jalen Holmes,
who has been good.
It says that his younger sister apparently is an NFL punt, pass, and kick champion. So if he spent the summer training with her, we could get rid of a punter, use the space for an extra wide receiver, and he could do the punting as well if he's been training with her.
Right.
Hey guys.
Hiya.
Hi, Krista.
It's a Krista.
Yeah. No. So defensive tackle is a massive concern. To be fair, Armin Watts looked quite good the back end of last year before he got injured. He was getting the backfield. That's the way sort of you notice some defensive tackles. But again, we've got a lot of people who can play both. No, like Jaleel Johnson can play a bit of nose, can play a bit of 3, but we've got no specialists in. Either Michael Pierce is an out-and-out nose tackle. That's who I want. I want him. You slot him in. Give him a few reps every now and again to his backup to keep him fresh. And you've got a 3-tech like Sheldon Richardson, like Sharif Floyd, go in there and just cause havoc. And we've been trying to find one for a while. We just don't have one. We just simply don't have one on the roster.
Here's a name for you. And you guys are able to talk about it. And I heard good things before the draft about this guy. And I was really glad when we drafted him just by what I'd heard. Kenny Willikers. What's your opinion?
An effort player.
A what?
An effort player.
Effort? I thought you said effed, as in fucked.
No.
Full of want and will be open to being coachable, but I don't know whether the full natural talent is there. But he's someone to root for, 100%. But
is he another project?
No, yeah. I don't think he is a project, because I think he's limited. I think he's limited physically, because of his stature and you watch all his sacks at Michigan State and his plays. It's all because of second effort, as in it's
wearing people down, isn't it?
Yeah. He doesn't get to the corner and rip through and bend through and get a sack. It's effort after effort, non-stop motor, which you like to see. But whether that translates to success when you're going against Trent Williams and Bakhtiari and the likes, I'm not entirely sure it does. Because the project that they've got in is that DJ Warnham, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
right.
That's the project where he's got long arms and he's 6'5" or however it is. That's the project. And I've not heard a thing about DJ Warnham during training camp.
I have notes on DJ Wanham, if I can find them, amongst the 400 different players that we've got in our squad. He is somewhere. Somewhere.
Are you going from Arif's training camp guide?
No, I've taken the notes from the Athletic, actually, from the Chad Graff and Arif that they've been doing. But it says...
Is that not what I just asked?
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't hear what you said. I think I've got...
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
Right. And we'd be able to find a left guard if we had 400 players. I mean, there must be one somewhere.
No. Rich Spielman would make sure of that. DJ Wanham, the rookies at defensive end are the same way as the 4th round pick. DJ Wanham and 7th round pick Kenny Willikers went up against 3rd string tackles. They both beat their competition more often than not. And then on the 18th, draft picks Kenny Willikers and DJ Wanham have both demonstrated that they overmatch the backup tackles. In some ways, that's expected, given that they're up against players who weren't productive enough to be high draft picks, but it's a good gut check. So that's all that I've got for them. But
at the end of the day, Patterson is coached good people, and we've had success there. And he apparently was really keen on Wanham, but so you know, it's high.
Yeah.
Hunter sack production. What was he? Always get
LSU.
Yes, right. I was thinking of Griffin. He was USC or UCLA.
Yeah, USC.
Griffin dropped more because of he was a bit of a nuisance, really, wasn't he? But Hunter was more a run stuffer. His sack production wasn't huge, was it?
No. But so you saw sort of Patterson was sort of pounding the table for DJ One. It was one of those draft videos on where the target said we really wanted this guy. This is sort of his pet project that he wants. So I'm not expecting much year one. I want him to be fair. I don't actually know who we are going to get production from outside of Hunter and Odenebo at defensive end.
I agree.
Jalen Holmes, possibly. I don't know.
Quite like Jalen Holmes.
I don't think
been unlucky with
great.
injuries too.
Hold my pick. Yeah, so outside of those two, and Odenebo flashed for half a season. If you feel he bounced around a few clubs before he came back.
Zettel?
Whether he's
Zettel?
Again, he's bounced around a few clubs, and just I'm not. If we relied on Anthony Zettel to get to the passer, we might be in trouble. But also, sort of jumping around here a little bit. Sorry, what about Drew Samir? Is there any talk about Drew Samir?
Oh,
he was supposed to be the savior.
He is the media darling. Everybody loves Drew Samir.
Yeah, he was supposed to be slotted in at right guard and take it from there. He was sort of,
the talk about Drew Samir, there's just sort of spits and spats, but
the talk is he's been beaten by Pat Elfine.
And Drew Samir is probably the 5th man at the guard position, and his placement at right guard tells us he's unlikely to take the spot left by Josh Klein. Drew Samir has been Elfine's backup so far at right guard and doesn't appear to be threatening him for the starting gig. 18th of August, Drew Samir and Jake Lassina have struggled at guard and centre respectively. Both have a win in pass rush drills, which is good in limited number of total drills so far, but the performances in team drills have been a little alarming. It's not good. And then 20th of August, Drew Samir missed the 4th day of practices Tuesday, but returned full in Wednesday for the 5th day. I haven't taken into account the latest update that came out yesterday for this.
People seem to love him after the Chicago game, and I never really got it, just because he pushed a few people to the floor and laid on them.
The second team as well.
Laid on them aggressively, and suddenly everyone was like, "Oh, he's great."
Yeah, well, they did
have all the time.
Yeah, there was one or two noticeable whiffs, and there's one or two where he's getting involved and pushing people to the ground. That's what sort of draws the eye. But if you actually sort of concentrated on it, there's one or two where you go, "Ooh, that's a bit of a." I never thought he was a scheme fit anyway, because I thought he was just a big, going sort of a power scheme, just beat the guy in front of you, not put him on the move. He was never that guy. So we traded up for him as well, I think, did we, in the 4th a few years ago. So it's a strange one. If he can't get ahead of Collins, Dozier, and Elfline, then no, there's no hope for him.
What did Arif say about Elfline, Elliot?
I'll tell you what Arif said about Elfline.
That's the post we need to judge him by. If they said Elfline's had a good camp, then we're fucked.
He said, a switch from left guard to right guard, 17th of August. Perhaps the biggest surprise since camp has begun is the fact that Vikings seem content to keep Pat Elfline as one of their starting offensive linemen. You expected him to retain a starting job. Some, including me, didn't think he'd make the team. Instead, it seems Elfline has all but locked up the job at right guard. He struggled his second season in the NFL after injuries plagued his off-season. He struggled last season at left guard and at least partly attributed that to unfamiliarity on the left side. So in the off-season, the Vikings decided to move him to the right side at his preferred guard spot, going back to his days at Ohio State. But it doesn't seem as if Elfline has to earn the right guard job. It's his. And then on August the 18th, just a single line, Pat Elfline has done little to inspire confidence.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, it's hard to say with him being a Buckeye, but oh, good God, just get rid. My word.
Yeah, but it seems like last time he's played 3 years in the NFL. His last year at Ohio State, he was 1 year at centre, I think, wasn't he, Ted? So it's been at least 4 years since he played right guard. And so I don't know. I give up.
He was flattered in that first year as well. When his first year for the Vikings in his rookie season, he was flattered because the offensive line wasn't bad then, and it's almost like he was actually carried. And since he's been found out pretty quickly, and I don't think moving him from left to right is going to make a blind bit of difference.
Who was left guard that year? Because I know it would have been Berger at right guard. That's quite a good.
Was it Compton?
Because it's someone where it was supposed to be.
No, Brandon Fusco, was it?
Yeah. Yeah?
No, I think it might have been the year before where Fusco moved to right guard because he was terrible at left guard, come back from a pec injury.
Hey, maybe it works then. Who knows?
I think it might have been Compton. It must have been Compton.
It would have been Compton's last year. So, Compton definitely played that year. So yeah, it could well have been.
Compton.
Does Easton play or not?
No, Easton got injured early on, didn't he?
Right.
It was supposed to be
Easton. He had a good year the year before.
It was supposed to be Easton, but Easton got injured pre-season or in the early part of the season, so he couldn't have been. But there was flashes that year where you think, well, we might have found a player. You can sort of overlook a few sort of whiffs on pass blocks. That'll come. It never came.
The media loved the fact that he got to the second level very quickly and put the blocks in for the running backs.
Yeah.
And they kind of didn't see the whole point where he was getting absolutely battered in the trenches.
Yeah, that might be what sort of Kubiak and Zimmer and the likes. They'd be able to prepare to accept him whiffing on pass blocks, but get Cook free downfield. Let's get these explosive players. They might be willing to accept. They seemingly are willing to accept terrible pass pro, but with the occasional explosive play that he helps on. That's the trade-off. But I'm still scratching my head because you go up against in the playoffs. You go against a good team like the 49ers and just the whole line. Even Josh Klein, who he's got. Even O'Neal had a bad game. I think he was carted off as well, wasn't he, O'Neal? But even the whole O-line was just outmatched that game. That's what we're going to be up against for the foreseeable future. If we want to go deep in the playoffs.
I have one last thing before the quiz to discuss that's a slight concern of mine, and that's actually at quarterback. And yeah, we've got Kirk Cousins, but apparently behind that we've got Sean Mannion, Nate Stanley, and Jake Browning, and all three of them have been absolutely terrible in training camp. What happens if Cousins gets injured?
Yeah, the season's
Trevor Lawrence, baby.
Season fucked. Yeah, we tanked.
We tanked for Trey Lance.
We tanked for Trevor.
Yeah.
You go shopping mid-season.
Yeah, we don't go tank. No one's tanking for Trey Lance. Ted, get back in your box.
I am.
Yeah, well, the season's fucked anyway at that point. I know a few teams do have good backups. We just don't. I know Mariota's a backup.
We've got no Case Keenum this time, have we?
No, we haven't. Well, what's he doing? Can we not go and fetch him?
Browns. Is it the Browns? He's backing up Mayfield for when Mayfield gets shit.
That's a great signing. That was a great signing.
Yeah, it is.
He's got to be one of the best backups. Well, Winston, I suppose, but he's got to be one of the best backups.
Yeah. Mariota.
Mariota, yeah, great.
Dalton.
Where did Winston go? Was it New Orleans?
Saints.
Yeah, it was Saints. Yeah, that's mad. That they've got their quarterback.
He's a competent backup. He's a starter, really. Right? Yeah. He's a borderline starter, should I say?
I'm surprised that Patriots.
That's the problem.
I would have Winston over Cam Newton.
No.
Cam, man. If Cam's healthy, he's a weapon.
Yeah, I'd have Cam.
That 1 million for £1 million though, mate. That's bargain.
Oh yeah, it's
how much it was.
Yeah,
absolute steal.
And you could have Winston as a backup for $1 million. That's unbelievable, really. Great backup. That actually, your season can at least carry on. I'd say with him.
He was the leading yardage last year.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's just the 30.
That's absolutely mental.
He was the 250 interceptions that he threw. That was the problem.
30 TDs, 30 interceptions.
Wide receivers were shit.
Good for fantasy, mate.
Well, this has been a truly uplifting and enjoyable and not in any way depressing half hour. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go back to my kids at this rate.
Yeah. We should probably start the quiz, shouldn't we?
We'll have to be host of that reactive air, mate. I'm shit on technology, man, but well, not that bad. But do you have to make me host and I'll share the screen, can't I?